Let's talk about one of the most high-stakes moments in anyone's career, the job interview. But let's forget about all those tricky questions for just a minute. Instead, we're going to zoom in on the very first 30 seconds, that tiny window of time where first impressions are everything. So let me ask you, what do you think is the single most critical part of an interview? I mean, is it how you answer that really tough question about your biggest weakness? Or is it maybe the salary negotiation at the very end? Well, what if I told you it was something that happens way, way earlier? You might be surprised to hear this, but a lot of research suggests the most crucial part of an interview is often the first 30 seconds. That's it. A powerful and often lasting judgment is formed in less time than it takes to even settle into your chair. And that is why making those first few moments count is absolutely essential. Okay, so to see how this all plays out in the real world, let's follow a candidate. We'll call her Rebecca. She's just arrived for her interview, and we're going to break down her first exchange piece by piece to see exactly what she does right. The interviewer, a Mr. Parsons, greets her at the door. It sounds like a pretty standard welcome, right? But listen closely. There's one tiny word in his phrase that makes a surprisingly big difference. Can you spot it? The key here is that little word, do. He could have just said, please come in. That's fine. But adding do, please do come in, it just adds this subtle layer of polite emphasis. It turns a simple command into a much warmer, more sincere invitation. It's a small detail, for sure, but it really sets a positive tone right from the get-go. And here is Rebecca's response. Now, this is perfect. It's confident, it's respectful, and it immediately establishes a professional tone for the whole meeting. So let's break down exactly why this works so well. By saying, thank you for making some time to see me, she's showing that she understands the interviewer's time is valuable. It shows a huge amount of respect for their schedule, and frankly, it's just way more polished than saying thanks for the interview. It frames the entire conversation with gratitude and professionalism right from the start. All right, let's move on to the next part of this opening exchange. This is where that polite small talk starts to build a real sense of rapport. So Mr. Parsons replies with that same level of politeness. And you'll notice this isn't a one-way street, right? It's a positive back and forth exchange. And his response is another great phrase to tuck away for your own professional toolkit. Here's a fantastic example of how to level up your language. A standard response would be, it's a pleasure to meet you too. And look, that's perfectly fine. But saying, the pleasure is all mine, that's a step up. It avoids just repeating their words back to them, and it sounds more sophisticated and, well, more gracious. Next up is the classic offer of a beverage. This is a super common part of the welcoming process, and the specific word the interviewer uses here is really important to know. He asks if she'd like any refreshments. Now, this is just a polite, professional term you'll hear a lot in business settings. It simply means drinks, coffee, tea, water. Knowing this word can help you feel a lot more comfortable and prepared in the moment. So, as this small talk continues, a few other key terms are probably going to pop up, and understanding them is critical to navigating the start of any interview with confidence. So let's get ahead of the conversation, shall we? For instance, Mr. Parsons might ask how her first interview went. Rebecca could say something like, "It was great. My colleague Sarah filled me in on the project's background." It just means that Sarah gave her the essential information, caught her up to speed. And in that same conversation, Mr. Parsons might say that Sarah had highly recommended her for the second interview. Now that is a word you want to hear. It means the first interviewer strongly suggested that she was a fantastic candidate. It's exactly the kind of feedback you want them sharing behind the scenes. This would be the perfect moment for Mr. Parsons to say, "Excellent. Well, why don't you tell me a little more about your background?" And that's the pivot. This is the official start of the main interview, where you'll talk about your professional story, your work experience, your education, and your skills. And of course, that background is first presented on paper. The two main ways you'll see this are a resume and a CV. So what's the difference? Well, the core difference is really depth. Think of a resume as a short 1 or 2 page summary, kind of like a movie trailer, targeted for a specific job. A CV, on the other hand, is much more detailed. It's the full documentary of your entire academic and professional life. But look, mastering that first impression isn't just about the words you choose. It's also about what you do. So let's look at the crucial nonverbal cues that give your words their real power. The phrases you choose are powerful, for sure, but they're only half the message. Real confidence isn't just spoken, it's communicated through your body language, through your actions. Here are 3 simple but unbelievably effective actions for a confident introduction. First, offer a firm handshake. Not a bone crusher, just firm. Second, make direct, steady eye contact. And third, offer a genuine smile. I know, it sounds basic, but the psychological impact of this combination is just huge. So, why does this matter so much? Well, from the interviewer's point of view, these signals are processed instantly. A firm handshake and eye contact are basically ancient signals of trust and honesty. They show you're present, you're engaged, you're approachable, and all of that creates a positive, lasting impression in just a few seconds. So, here's the ultimate takeaway. The real secret to mastering that first impression is integration. It's about combining confident language with confident actions. When what you say and what you do are in perfect sync, you project this undeniable sense of competence and poise. You now have the tools you need to walk into that room and just own those first 30 seconds. So the final question really is for you. How are you going to use them to start telling your story and make the best possible first impression?